Have you ever felt like your life is one big, overwhelming mess, and no matter what you do, you just can't seem to get it together? You're not alone, and here is the good news. Sometimes it only takes a few small changes to create a massive shift. In this video, I'm sharing 6 simple habits that helped me turn chaos into clarity, and they can do the same for you. All 6 habits are super easy to implement, and the final habit is probably the most important, although it may not sound like a typical habit to you at first. Let's dive in. So here's the thing. Life can feel overwhelming when we try to control things that are simply out of our hands. Whether it's other people's opinions or unexpected setbacks or global events, worrying about what we can't change drains our energy and keeps us stuck. I used to waste so much time fixating on things that I couldn't influence, and it left me feeling powerless. So instead, I want you to shift your focus to what you can control. This first habit is all about choosing to direct your energy towards actions and thoughts that are within your influence rather than dwelling on what's beyond it. When you're faced with a challenge, ask yourself, what is within my control right now? As much as you can, let go of the outcome of things and focus on your effort. For example, you can't control how others respond, but you can control how you show up. It's also helpful to use a mantra to ground yourself, like, I control my actions, not the outcome. For me, this mindset shift started during my medical career when I realized that I couldn't control patient outcomes, but I could control how I showed up and gave my best care. As Epictetus famously said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Modern psychology also confirms this. Studies on locus of control show that people who focus on what they can influence feel less anxious and more in control of their lives. Okay, let's move on to the next habit to try. Now, when life feels overwhelming, it's tempting to want to fix everything at once, but that's impossible, and often it leads to burnout or just giving up entirely. I remember when I first started exercising again after a long break, I went too hard, too fast, and ended up injuring myself, a classic case of overdoing it. Instead, focus on the 1% rule. Commit to tiny daily improvements, and this is the second habit. Just 1% better every day may not feel like much, but over time, those small gains compound into big results. Here are some tips to help you do it. First, start small. Choose a specific area where you want to improve, for example, your health or your productivity or your finances. Then identify one tiny actionable step that you can take each day. For health, add 1 extra serving of vegetables to your meal. For productivity, organize just one small section of your workspace. For finances, transfer $1 a day into your savings. Then, as you get started, track progress. Use a journal or an app to monitor your small improvements. When you see even slight progress, it really builds momentum. At the end of each week, review your progress and identify just one more area where you can apply the 1% rule. This helps to keep the habit intentional and prevents stagnation. The power of the 1% rule lies in consistency. Remind yourself that it's better to do just a little bit every day than to go big and burn out. This habit has been transformative for so many of my clients and students. One of my clients, as an example, applied it to her fitness. She wanted to get back into yoga, but her schedule and her budget didn't really allow for classes at a yoga studio. So instead, she committed to just 5 minutes of yoga at home, first thing in the morning. It felt so achievable that she stuck with it, and eventually 5 minutes grew incrementally into 30 minutes a day. Research on habit formation backs this up. Small, consistent changes are far more effective than big, sporadic efforts. One of the best places to start with the 1% rule is with self-care. Prioritizing just a little more self-care each day is an amazing investment in yourself and your well-being and your mental health. And if you want some help with this, then I invite you to download my free self-care checklist. Inside this guide, I give you a menu of really easy to implement self-care habits that fit seamlessly into your daily routine. It's completely designed to boost your well-being without adding stress or complexity. I will put the link in the description below. Okay, let's move on to the next habit. How often do we put off small tasks only to have them pile up into a mountain of stress. Dishes in the sink, a bill that needs paying, or even just responding to a simple email. We put off just that one little thing, but then the next thing you know, there are a ton of those little things, and you're feeling completely distracted with all of these nagging, incomplete tasks that you have got hanging over your head. I've been there, and I've learned that procrastination on small things can create a domino effect of overwhelm. Enter the 2-minute rule, and this is habit number 3. If something takes less than 2 minutes, do it immediately. This habit prevents the little things from snowballing and clears mental space for bigger tasks. Start with simple things like putting away your clothes or washing your lunch dishes right after you use them or tidying up your desk. Make it a challenge for 1 week. See how many 2-minute tasks you can knock out daily. And a pro tip, and one that I use all the time, is to use a timer if it helps you to stay focused. I first heard about this particular rule, the 2-minute rule, from productivity expert David Allen, who wrote the book Getting Things Done. When I applied it to my daily life, I noticed an immediate drop in my stress levels. Studies show that a small act of completion, like just ticking off a task, releases dopamine, which gives you a mental boost. All right, next up is habit number 4. Many people feel stuck or overwhelmed because they're constantly chasing more. More success, more possessions, more perfection. This endless striving creates stress and dissatisfaction and burnout. I've fallen into this trap myself many times, thinking that achieving one more thing would finally make me feel accomplished, only to realize that the goalposts kept moving because I kept moving them. Instead, I want you to shift your mindset to embracing the idea of enough. It means recognizing and appreciating what you already have while still working towards your goals with a sense of peace and balance. It's about creating a foundation of gratitude and sufficiency that allows you to move forward without feeling like you're falling short. So here are some tips to help you to put this one into action. First, practice gratitude every day. Take a moment each morning or evening to list 3 things that you're grateful for. This helps to shift your focus from what's missing to what's already present. Next, set realistic benchmarks. Take some time to really define what enough looks like for you in specific areas like work, relationships, or finances. Third, adopt a progress mindset. Instead of aiming for perfect achievement of your benchmark, celebrate progress and enjoy the journey. Beware the arrival fallacy that tricks you into thinking that you're only going to be happy when you reach a certain point. Enjoy the journey and everything that you're learning along the way. Research supports this. Studies on gratitude show that it is linked to greater happiness and lower stress levels. Okay, let's move on to habit number 5. Here's what I know. Big goals are amazing, but they can feel overwhelming, especially when you're just not sure where to start. I've set ambitious goals in the past only to feel completely paralyzed by their sheer size. It wasn't until I started breaking them down into micro goals that I started seeing real progress. So your habit here is to chunk down your big projects and set small, manageable goals for each week. Focus on what's realistic rather than perfect. This creates momentum and builds confidence. Take one big project that you have in mind and then break it down into very small chunks and spread them out over the weeks. Make sure you write your micro goals down somewhere visible and be sure to celebrate all your small wins to just reinforce this habit. I used this method when I was writing my first book. Instead of focusing on finishing the entire book, I set weekly goals to write just one chapter. After a few months, I had a finished draft. Research shows that breaking down goals increases the likelihood of achieving them. As Confucius said, the man who moves a mountain begins by carrying away small stones. Okay, let's move on to the 6th and final habit, and this one might be the most important one. We all experience negative thoughts that can feel paralyzing. It's that inner critic that tells you you're not good enough or smart enough or capable enough. I've had moments where I let those thoughts absolutely take over and they held me back from trying new things or making progress. It's really easy to fall into the trap of believing every thought that pops into your head. So instead of letting negative thoughts control you, learn to recognize them and reframe them into something empowering. This isn't about toxic positivity or pretending that everything is fine. It's about shifting your perspective to one one that serves you. And so this is habit number 6, flip the script on negative thoughts. Start by noticing your self-talk. When a negative thought comes up, pause and ask yourself, is this really true? For example, if you think, I always fail at this, try, I've learned a lot from past attempts and I am getting better every time. I'm calling this one a habit because it's hard to do when you begin, but by repeatedly, consistently working on this, it will get easier and you will get better at catching yourself on that negative, defeatist self-talk and then quickly flipping it into something more empowering. Research in cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, shows that reframing negative thoughts can significantly reduce anxiety and increase resilience. Okay, so there you have it. Remember, you don't need to implement all these habits at once. Even starting with just one can create a ripple effect. And don't forget to download my free self-care checklist. The link again is in the description below. So I would love to know, which of these habits will you try first? Let me know in the comments. And if you found this video helpful, I think you are going to really like the video that is coming up on the next screen, which is called The Ultimate Guide to Reinventing Your Life. I will see you there. This idea is supported by the teachings of the Stoics as Epictetus. Okay, we're gonna have to take a couple of stabs at that one. As Epictetus famous, I get the name right and then stumble over famous. Okay, that's fine, no problem. Why do I do this to myself?